Yeah, welcome back. It's your boy Run It Up Rue, back with another episode of Real Sports Talk, home of the realest sports talk. Today on our off-season All 32 preview special, we got the Buffalo Bills on deck. That's right, everything you need to know, how they going into the off-season, what they look to do during the off-season, and how can they get better going into the 2025 season. Let's talk. The Buffalo Bills won the AFC East division with a record of 13-4, but they lost the conference championship game to Kansas City in not surprising fashion. I mean, they did have the ball last. They had the opportunity to drive down the field and they completely stalled. So I think that ties into what they may be doing in this offseason, and we're going to get to that in a little bit. But I think when we start talking about the Buffalo Bills, it begins and it ends with Josh Allen. That's right, the QB. So when it comes to Josh Allen, right, I'm not really ready to throw you any statistics because honestly, he's good enough to win a Super Bowl. Let's keep it a bean. He's good enough to win a Super Bowl. I think the problem when it comes to the Buffalo Bills, first it was philosophy and finding their true identity when it came to the offense. I think they settled into that this season. Now, I think the biggest problem when it comes to the offense is just simply they need more playmakers. Now, they brought in Amari Cooper, which was a good acquisition, sure hands, great route runner, and still in the end of his prime, but still in his prime. But that wasn't enough. Now, they had Shakir. He was doing his thing this season, probably his best statistical season. But they need a guy who can really stretch the field. He's more of a slot, quick pass, yak kind of guy, but they need a true weapon on the outside. So that offense just needs a little bit more explosion when it get down to it. Defensively, them guys played really sound. They had a great season all around for the team, right? It was definitely one for the books. It had people really feeling like this could be their season. Um, and just ultimately they fell short. But Josh Allen did win the MVP. Now, when it comes to Josh Allen winning the MVP, I just have questions. I really just have questions because, what he threw in passing yards, it really wasn't that special. Touchdowns, it really wasn't special at all. Now, he only threw, I believe, 6 interceptions. That's pretty damn good. But is that most valuable player? Really? If you look at the Buffalo Bills, they ran the ball. They didn't really ask Josh Allen to do a lot. He did come through in clutch moments, and for inferior teams, he ran all over them. So he picked up a lot of yards on the ground. Um, but if we was to throw up Lamar Jackson stats, which you can go check my Baltimore Ravens video that's out, that will be dropping soon. And you can just see the comparison between these two guys' stats. And it's not even close, honestly. It's not even close. But congratulations to Josh Allen. Either way, he is deserving, I guess. In my opinion, he was deserving of consideration. But Lamar Jackson should have won that. Or at least they should have had co-MVPs. I just don't understand in any world that you say Josh Allen had a better season than Lamar Jackson. But this video is about the Buffalo Bills. So shouts out to Josh Allen for winning the MVP. That's major for him. And we'll see what he does next season. Now, when it comes to Sean McDermott, right? I think he's an excellent head coach, definitely defensive minded. Since he's been there, Buffalo Bills defense has been one to fear. Now, of course, with adding more pieces and allowing those pieces to grow, they have gotten better organically. They tried to throw a couple haymakers out there like Von Miller and stuff like that. But ultimately, everybody that's really playing a key role for their defense has been homegrown. But success, a lot of success. Sean McDermott has seen a lot of success, but at what point do we say he can't get over the hump? And I think that's a valid question to ask. Buffalo Bills fans, I hope you get in the comment section and let me know. Are y'all feeling the same way about Sean McDermott as I am? I think he may have capped his potential. When we start talking about out coaching other coaches, I rarely see Sean out coaching. I think the players or the play calling has put the team in prime position in the key moments that we're talking about here. But Sean McDermott making that coaching decision that ultimately change the outcome of the game, whether it was a comeback situation or just how to get the team that was reeling to stay reeling and not be able to find their footing within the game and come back and win the game on you. When has Sean McDermott been that X factor? Now, I'm not a Buffalo Bills fan, so I'm not sitting here saying I watch the Buffalo Bills with, strongly with a strong eye. That's not true. But when I sit back and look at them in these key games that they've been a part of these last couple of years, I haven't seen where Sean McDermott was that X factor. But that's a key question, I think, for people to answer, especially Buffalo Bills fans. How are you feeling about Sean McDermott? Once again, I think he's an excellent head coach, but I just feel like he's a grower, not a winner. Like he's a coach that can come in, build a foundation for a team, and grow the team to prime position to contend for a championship. I'm not sure he's a championship caliber head coach, but that'll be interesting to see going forward what happens. Now he's confident in who the Bills are, and he believes they are a few pieces away from reaching their ultimate goal. Um, but like I said, once again, I've seen teams win with necessarily less or not have everything that you could have under the sun. But it would take a coach that would be able to be an X factor 1 or 2 games. But I can be completely wrong when it comes to that. Like I said, Buffalo Bills fans, holla at me in the chat. Let me know what's going on in y'all mind. So when it comes to this cap space going into the 2025 season, they have roughly about 37 million once they clear the cap space. I mean, clear some room in the cap as far as some contracts going out, some contracts reworked. And then every new league year starts a new salary cap, and then with the TV contracts and stuff that goes into that, they'll have about roughly $37 million, maybe more, maybe a little less. Now, when it comes to free agency, Buffalo Bills, kind of like my Dallas Cowboys, they're pretty quiet when it comes to day one on free agency. They kind of like to build through the draft organically. But here are some free agents that they are potentially losing going into the 2025 season that may need to be replaced. Now, I'm going to start off with Von Miller. Although some reports are saying that he's coming back next season, he may retire. So he's someone to look out for. If he does retire, they'll definitely have a void at edge rusher. So pay attention to that one. Now, running back Ty Johnson, I think he may be somebody that'll look to retain if he'll hit free agency, test the market, may come back on a team-friendly deal. Wide receiver Amari Cooper. I believe Amari Cooper is going to test free agency. I don't think he'll come back. But if he doesn't like what he sees out there, if the team's necessarily that's interested in him, may not have a quarterback in place. Maybe he doesn't feel at his age he wants to play with a rookie quarterback. So depending on how free agency looks for them and the contract that he may be able to work with the Buffalo Bills, he may come back as well. It'll be interesting to see what Amari Cooper ends up doing. Hell, I'll take him back in Dallas if they don't want him. That's for sure. Next is wide receiver Mac Hollins. So Mac Hollins is definitely an interesting character. I think he's a fan favorite out there in Buffalo. The guy doesn't believe in wearing shoes. And he has some of the players out there uh, going along right along with him at practice, walking barefoot and stuff like that. So he seems to be a definitely interesting character. I think the locker room loves him. I think the fan base loves him. He had a great season, probably one of his best statistical seasons this season with Josh Allen. So Mac Hollins, I think either him or Amari Cooper could come back. So it'll be interesting to see which one of these two guys come back. I do believe they bring one of these guys back. Now, next is safety Damar Hamlin. Okay. Um, we all know what happened with Damar Hamlin on the football field. Thankfully, he was able to bounce back, and he had one hell of a season. If we're comparing statistical seasons in the past from him, he's had one of his best seasons thus far. Now he will test free agency. I think they may look to upgrade, but and this is a big but. Depending on how they feel the board may fall, depending on where they want to. I think DeMar wants to come back to Buffalo. I think he likes being in Buffalo. I think he's found himself a little niche out there, uh, maybe on a team friendly deal. So that'll definitely be interesting to see if DeMar Hamlin comes back. I know the some fans may want him to go. I think they feel like they could upgrade at that position. I personally feel like they could upgrade at that position. But like I said, he's a familiar face in the locker room. He knows the system. And he did have a good season this year. Maybe he can continue to progress within the system. So they have about 8 other less notable departures. Um, I don't have any, I didn't put them into this slide, but they have about 8 other less notable departures. Go check out their page to find out who those guys were. So when it comes down to Buffalo Bills and the free agency market, like I said, just like my Dallas Cowboys, they don't really like to go into the first day of free agency. Could this year be different? I kind of doubt it. I think they'll be looking to look at key positions and maybe not even day one at that key position unless the depth at that position in the free agency market isn't there or they don't feel like they'll be able to get that position filled correctly how they would like it in the draft due to their draft position. So it'll be interesting to see um, who they target. But I do have some possible targets for you. Uh, Here we go. The first being Daxton Hill from the Cincinnati Bengals, defensive back here. I think the Buffalo Bills are definitely looking to upgrade in their cornerback position. I think he's somebody who could fit within their cap, not necessarily break the bank, but he could be somebody that they look out for. Next would be linebacker Quay Walker, Green Bay Packers. Explosive guy, downhill attacker, pretty good against the run from everything I've seen. I can see Quay Walker being somebody that they at least bring in for a cup of coffee and talk some things through, see how he fits within the system and the role that they'll have for him within that system. Next would have to be Edge Khalil Mack. I think he's rounding out his career here, but it would be a good signing for the Buffalo Bills just because they're in prime contention. If Von Miller came back, pairing him with Khalil Mack could be very successful for them. So it'll be interesting to see where Khalil Mack falls. I don't think he retires. I know that um, the Chargers will be looking to move on from him. It's a cap casualty. So it'll be interesting to see where Khalil Mack falls. I think Buffalo will definitely have interest in him. Next is wide receiver T. Higgins. I think he's going to be a hot commodity on the open market. He's going to have plenty of suitors. So I think it's all up to T. Higgins on where he goes. I don't think he resigns in Cincinnati, although I think Cincinnati deep down would love to retain him. I think he's just looking for that bag. And I think he wants to be the number one option. I think he feels like he could be the number one option. I think he's a great number two. I think he's a Hall of Fame number two if he was to stay paired next to Jamar Chase. But like I said, he's looking for the bag, and Cincinnati isn't necessarily known to bring out that bag. Next free agent, cornerback Eric Stokes, Green Bay Packers. Yes, he's a rotational piece guy. I think he'll definitely be somebody that they can fit within the cap. So he would be somebody that I think they'll bring in for a cup of coffee. Eric Stokes, cornerback. Now, the Bills draft position, they picked 30th in the first round. So pretty much second round. That's what happens when you lose that close to getting to the Super Bowl. So they'll be picking 30th. They have 2 second-round picks. They have 2 fourth-round picks. Now they have 2 fifth-round picks. I didn't put those on the slide. Those are comp picks, right? And now to end out their draft, they have 3 sixth-round picks. So I do think that the Buffalo Bills are primed to kind of package some of these picks up and move up in the draft. If not in round 1, maybe in round 2 or early in round 3. I can definitely see the Buffalo Bills utilizing these picks that they have, these bundles of picks, in that way. Now, when it comes to Buffalo Bills draft needs, right, they need defensive backs, wide receivers, and they need edge rusher. If I had to list it in the order in which I feel they need that, it would be wide receiver, edge rusher, defensive back. Now, how do I think the board will fall for them in the draft? It will most likely be, since they're picking at 30th, I can see them either picking a defensive back first or an edge rusher first, because I think that at the end of the pick 30th is basically the second round. And I think by the second round, you'll already be out of first round graded wide receivers. So I can definitely see a edge rusher or a defensive back falling first for you guys at pick number 30. But it'll be interesting to see how they go. Now, when it comes to draft targets, who Buffalo Bills may target within the draft, I think, like I just mentioned, defense probably will be their first pick, simply based off of them picking so late in the first round at 30. So coming out first would be defensive tackle Kenneth Grant. He's a monster. He's in the top 5 defensive tackles in this class that's coming out. So at pick 30, I think Kenneth Grant could be a real option for those guys. First round as well, cornerback Siobhan Revell Jr. I feel as though can definitely fit within their system. He's a ball hawk. He has a nose for the ball. If falling to them at pick 30, I think it would be a steal, and they're running to the podium to turn that pick in for Siobhan Revell Jr. Next would be edge. Excuse me for butchering his last name, but I'm going to give my best shot. Donovan Ezaraku. Shouts out to me in the comments if I said that properly. Another bendy edge right here, explosive off the ball. Now, Florida State didn't have the best season, but that wasn't due to him trying. He did the best he could. If you look at his stats, it's compelling to maybe pick him at pick 30. But I do see him as maybe a mid to late second round pick. But I'm not a draft guy. So take that with a grain of salt. Right? I'm not a draft guy. I'm just merely giving you guys some targets that I see Buffalo Bills potentially going after in whatever round. All right, so next would have to be safety. Xavier Watts, Notre Dame. He's probably one or two in the safety class coming out this season. Could definitely be there on the board at pick 30 for those guys. Bring you a surefire captain in that backfield, you know, sideline to sideline. He's tracking the ball in the air. He's looking to disrupt the pass, and he can come down and hit. I like Xavier Watts a lot. And if Dallas can pick him early second round, third round, I'm all for that. Actually, third round, not even playing. Third round would be cool. Xavier Watts, shouts out to him, Notre Dame. And lastly, to break off these draft targets would be Jalen Royals. Last but not least, the boy got hands, sharp route runner, sure-handed, and the guy has yak ability. He has yak ability, and I like him a lot. Out of, I think he would fall probably about 6 or 7 out of the top wide receivers coming out in this draft, maybe even 4 or 5, depending on certain people's boards. But for me, I like a couple of people better than him. But we're talking about pick 30 and going and later. I can see Jalen Royals falling to them and them loving them. Now, I think he may be a little bit of what they already have in Shakir, but I think he's a little bigger body, and I think he's a little bit more sure-handed. But we'll see, right? So those was a couple of names I just wanted to throw out there for the Buffalo Bills draft targets. I think a couple of those guys are on their board high and could be potential Buffalo Bills by the time the draft concludes. So if we were going into the 2025 season, this is what their schedule is looking like. So eh, I'm not going to say this is a hard schedule at all. Buffalo Bills, and this is in no particular order because I don't think time frames have been set on these dates for these games. I think it's still to be determined. But Buffalo Bills have the Miami Dolphins, New England Patriots, New York Jets. They have those twice each. You know, those are the same divisional guys, right? But then they got to play the AFC North, which is a very hard division with the Baltimore Ravens, Cincinnati Bengals, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Cleveland Browns. I'm not sure what to make of the Cleveland Browns, but we'll get to them when it's their turn. Right. And then they have the Saints, Eagles, Kansas City Chiefs, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Atlanta Falcons, Carolina Panthers, and the Houston Texans. Just a quick mm, I can see the Buffalo Bills right now going 11-6. Just looking at that record. If I'm just looking at that record right now, I can see them going 11-6. Maybe even 10-5. I do think the Buffalo Bills may regress going into the next season, just simply because I don't think Josh Allen can throw that little of interceptions and be that efficient consistently. But maybe he's a changed man. Maybe he's a changed man. I don't know. You guys tell me, how do you feel about Josh Allen going into the 2025 season? Do you think that this could be the year he gets it done? Do you think that he at least has another conference championship under his belt back to back? Do you think the Buffalo Bills can insert that kind of dominance? I'm not really sure about that. I think the league is just only getting better, and they have targets on their back now within the AFC. So I'm not really sure. But I just wanted to do something here. Now, what I'm going to do for you guys is I'm going to throw a quick mock up. We're going to do a quick mock draft. Only the first 3 rounds. Only the first 3 rounds. But we're going to do a quick mock up. Okay, let me just get everything settled here. Click the 3 rounds. We go Buffalo. We go fast just to get the picks in faster. Mm. Okay, they're going all the way down to 30. Now, we're not going to do any trades. I should have said that right before I started. We're not going to do any trades in this draft. I just want you guys, the Buffalo Bills fans, and anybody else who enjoyed this video to see who may be on the board when it's time to pick at 30 and beyond for the Buffalo Bills. Okay. So, my Dallas Cowboys is trying to move up here. We're not going to accept the trade, although as a Dallas Cowboys fan, I would be pushing that accept. Probably I would cost Buffalo a lot more, but we're not going to do that. We're not cheating. Kansas City tried to move up one spot, also adding the 256 pick, but we're rejecting all picks here. Okay. Just to go over quickly who went before the Buffalo Bills. Shador Sanders went to Tennessee. Cam Ward went to Cleveland, which is funny to me. I have that switched. I have Cam Ward going to Tennessee and Shador Sanders going to Cleveland. But let's move on. Travis Hunter goes to New York. Abdul Carter goes to New England. Will Campbell goes to Jacksonville. Ashton Genty goes to the Las Vegas Raider. Mason Graham goes to New York Jets. Ted McMillan goes to the Carolina Panthers. Mikael Williams to the Saints. Nick Scorton to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Will Johnson to the San Francisco 49ers. Tyler Booker. This is a terrible draft for my Dallas Cowboys. Tyler Booker, offensive guard to the Dallas Cowboys. Malachi Starks to the Indianapolis Colts. Tyler Warren to Miami Dolphins. Siobhan Rivell to Atlanta Falcons. James Pierce to Arizona Cardinals. Luther Burden to Cincinnati. Cameron Williams to Seattle. Jalen Walker to Chicago. Colston Loveland to Denver. Benjamin Morrison to Pittsburgh. Matthew Golden to, that's a really good pickup for the Los Angeles Chargers. Emeka Ibuka really fell. That's a big pickup for Green Bay right there. Nick Emanwari, Minnesota. Armand Mimbo. Okay, yeah, so, wow. There's some guys left on the board here for Buffalo that I'm really surprised, especially at this defensive tackle position. Now, if you remember, their draft needs were defensive backs, wide receiver, and edge. So let's just see if we can fulfill any of those three right now or feel good about that. All right. So first they have Walter Nolan, defensive tackle, Ole Miss. Now he's somebody that is highly touted as coming out for a defensive tackle. He's in like the top 5 of defensive tackles coming out, maybe top 6. Kenneth Grant, definitely top 3 out of that top 5 defensive tackle position. Jahdae Barron, safety. I think he's a cornerback in the league, though. He's a stud. He could definitely be a pick right here. Mike Green, edge. Like I said, edge is one of their needs. Trey Amos, cornerback. Xavier Watts, somebody I just had on my list as well, is there to draft. If I was the Buffalo Bills, I'm probably running in. They got Jahad Campbell at linebacker. Amarian Hampton is still there at running back. Trey Harris at wide receiver. Big body. What do you think about Trey Harris? Yeah, I think I'm going to go Trey Harris. They need a wide receiver. He's a big body from Ole Miss. I think he could do well in that cold weather up there in Buffalo. Let's go Trey Harris. And he's a different body than they already have. Let's go Trey Harris. Okay, we're not doing picks, but Denver's offering their 85th pick in the 2026 Denver second round pick. We're not doing picks, so we're going to reject that. Okay, So who's left on the board? Now we have our wide receiver, right? We picked our wide receiver in Trey Harris from Ole Miss. The draft needs that's left a defensive back and edge rusher. Let's see if we can fill them voids. Caleb Johnson, Iowa, still being on the board right here. It's kind of criminal. I should just pick him just because, but I'm not. I'm going to try and stay true to the board real quick. All right, so we have our wide receiver. So we need edge and we need defensive back. Let's see. Donovan Ezaraku. Now, another guy from my list right there that's there to pick. They also have edge Kyle Kennard. He's also really good. TJ Sanders is a slept on defensive tackle, but I think once he comes from the combine, he'll definitely be moving up people's boards. Alec Yamanora, excuse me for breaking his name down like that. Wide receiver from Stanford is also really great. Jahad Campbell is just calling for me because that linebacker position, I don't know if Sean will overlook that for these defensive backs and these edge rushers that I have left. Edge Jack Sawyer off Ohio State could also be an option here. I mean, I could pick Donovan and stick true to my slideshow that I threw out there, but actually I'm going to pick. You know what? I'm gonna stay true to my draft board here. I'm gonna stay true to the little needs that they have that I presented that they have. But I'm not gonna pick Donovan simply because I do think Jack Sawyer is a little better. Maybe a little higher ceiling. Not sure his floor is as high as Donovan. Um, yeah, let's go Jack Sawyer here. Let's go Jack Sawyer. Not necessarily saying that's 100% what they would do, but he's definitely a quality edge passer. I think he's going to be great stopping the run. Look at Dallas coming back again. Please trade with me. Please trade with me. No, we're not doing 76 for 62. We're not doing that. All right. So we're going to reject those. And we're just doing the top three. So this is the last pick right here. Now we have wide receiver Trey Harris. Who else we had? And edge Jack Sawyer. All right. So if we had to go defensive back, let's just look at the defensive backs real quick. And Denzel Burke, Ohio State, is left on that board. I'm running to the podium with that right there. Denzel Burke, Ohio State. So that concludes the draft right there. The first 3 rounds, anyway. Trey Harris, wide receiver, Ole Miss. Jack Sawyer, edge, Ohio State. And defensive back, Denzel Burke, Ohio State. So you guys tell me after this Buffalo Bills review, how you feeling? Did I leave anything out? Was there more moves to be made? Hop in the comments and let me know. As always, I appreciate everybody that tuned into this video. It's been real, and I thank you.